They found a guy that had every bone in his body broken with hammers. I had this one friend that I used to do martial arts with when I was a kid. And when I was probably around 16 or 17, he wound up going to jail. I didn't know him that well, but I knew him as this guy who competed in tournaments, and he would show up and train with us, and just a pretty tough guy. He went into jail and he came out, first of all, much bigger. He was just like stacked with muscle. All of his tattoos he burned off, so he had scars, like these big keloid scars over all of his tattoos now. And he was a completely different person, like a violent animal, like a terrifying guy to spar with. If you spar with him, you were in there was nothing, no holding back. Sparring, for the most part, when you like people, you're hitting them only a certain percentage of your strength. This guy was not doing any of that. He was full blast with everything. It was like a caged animal. And as I got to be closer to him, I actually became closer to him after he got out of prison than he was before. Because I just spent more time sparring him and hanging out and training with him and being in these group classes with him. He started telling me these stories about what it was like in jail and just fighting for his life. He had to take on 3 guys, and he picked up a broomstick and he was beating. He was just telling me these crazy stories of guys trying to kill him in jail. He was in there for 3 years for drug selling. And then he went right back to selling drugs. And he eventually got arrested, and I've told the story before. It's kind of crazy. They found a guy that had every bone in his body broken with hammers. And they kept him awake by injecting him with cocaine. They kept injecting him with cocaine, and then they cut his arms off, they cut his hands off, and then they cut his head off, and then they found his body. But it's like all of his bones have been shattered. And this guy that I knew as a kid got arrested for that. They never wound up trying him for that. They brought him in for questioning. He definitely knew something about it. He knew either the people that did it or knew something, but it was all drug related, and he was selling cocaine. And then I lost touch with him after that.
That's a crazy story.
Oh yeah.